I'm Brxwn, and I'm a abstract artist, a minimal artist, and an installation artist. My mom was an artist. She was more of a writer, but she knew how to draw also. And when I was probably 5, 6 years old, I used to always try to get her to draw me, like, oh, draw me a Superman, draw me a Batman character. And you know, I would get them and I would try to trace them and draw like how she did. And then when I got older, I would say, like, oh, could you just make them better? Can you draw them a little bit better? And so she finally told me, like, you make them better. Like, you draw them better. And that's what took off for me, just drawing on my own. And I stopped asking anybody to draw me anything after that. I remember specifically going to school at OTIS where I was in, it was a portfolio class that they wanted you to take to get in so you could give them a good portfolio to get into school. And I remember the class I was in where we had to draw an apple or something, and I was drawing it, and I was drawing it pretty good, I thought, at least. And the teacher is just behind me like, oh, you can't hold the pencil like that, you gotta hold it like this. And I was just looking like, what are you talking about? Like, you telling me how to hold a pencil? That has nothing to do with drawing. And so I started holding the pencil like the way he wanted. And he's like, oh no, for that line, you gotta hold the pencil like this. At that point, I was like, I can't be a part of an art school or a class where they're critiquing like even just the way you hold a pencil. The tattoo job I had in San Antonio was probably the best thing that helped me find art again. I would draw tattoos for people. They said, hey, can you draw? I remember one specifically, still to this day, was a guy wanted me to draw a fairy smoking a blunt, and he wanted to put it on his neck. And so I remember drawing that, and that was more fun to me than anything I ever did, tattooing or anything. Just be able to be creative and draw something that I wouldn't even think of. This was the sketchbook during the time I was sort of lost in what I wanted to create, so I just started drawing everything. So I drew realism, I drew cartoons, I drew comic book characters, graffiti. This sketchbook is probably the most important to me because it's like a journey in seeing me trying to find myself again. You know, losing like a passion for art and trying to get back into it again. My first gallery experience was actually in Austin with a Pump Project. It was probably a few months in when I got my first studio with them. I think the part that caught me off guard was how you had to explain your artwork and how you would just talk to people about what you do, and I never experienced that. I never had to do that. I would just do something and then that was it. I never really thought of a meaning behind anything I created. It was more spontaneous. So I had to figure out a way to make my art more resonate, I think, and be able to explain it better instead of just doing stuff that's so spontaneous. I lost my studio. I think with COVID and everything, like, you know, finances are always a little bit funky now. And so my time, especially having a baby now, time and commitment isn't the same as it was. I've kind of confined my work to working on paper, to working on a little bit smaller drawings. What I love the most is it's diverse. It's, I can do a lot more stuff, and it kind of brings me back to the way I used to draw. This is one of my more recent works. It made me think of drawing back to my roots of looking at cartoons again and trying to make them more realistic and more serious instead of goofy looking. And so I thought of this one and I included these, they're like blobs basically I use for, you know, I really got into a phase from one of my sketchbooks as a drawing these, and I really loved how they looked, and they could be incorporated in so many different ways. It made me want to get back into doing color again. I've been doing so many minimalism and black and white, and I wanted to get back into doing more color work. Thank you for joining me on this artistic adventure where we can appreciate art together, maybe smoke a doobie here and there, and appreciate creativity. My name is Brxwn, And you can find me at Russell Brxwn with an X, of course. Xmarksthespot.com.